Yeah, I could have emailed him, couldn't I? But someone decides to keep sending spam through my email account, so I'll go straight to junk, so no one responds. So I have to invite people by paper airplane. Cheers, Kat. Call them up. No, I don't like talking on the phone. Hope to God that they get there. I'm not going to hope to God. I'm not going to, put my faith in that. I'm going to put my faith in something much stronger than that, Kat. Video editing. Yeah, they'll get there. Don't worry.
So I have been invited to the Big Bot Bash of 2025, and I'm really excited and really nervous. I'm going to be rolling a D20 to determine all the different parts of this bot using the junk bot generator made by Bill Makes Stuff, and then we'll make something. The rules are use whatever you can at whatever size to make a big bot, just no 3D printed stuff, which luckily for me, my 3D printer is broken, or unluckily for me, so I can't even do it anyway. He's also mentioned that using trash is a bonus. That is something that I've never done before and am really curious to try, but honestly, my brain has a hard time thinking of trash as something cool. So it's gonna be a really interesting and fun challenge to try and use as much junk around my house as possible to make a bot. So let's roll some dice and see what happens. The dice have spoken, and this is going to be an interesting one. Mainly the head. A hole? That doesn't mean no head. That means a hole as a head. We'll see how that works. The body is an alien, which my brain is going, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Beefy arms. So we're gonna make them extra beefy. Take an eye out with that. Claws, hands, hand claws. I'm thinking claws, but it can be anything. It can be a screwdriver. It could be a sharp stick looking thing. I don't know. Centaur legs, and it's a kill machine. A centaur-legged alien with beefy arms and a whole head. So I clearly have a lot of brainstorming to do, and I'm just going to rummage around the loft, so to speak, and try to see what in the world I'm going to do. So back in the day, I used to do a lot of cosplay actually, and I would make a lot of my own armor and clothing and things like that. And these drawers are where I keep all that junk that I used to use for cosplaying that I don't have the heart to throw away. So I'm gonna rummage through these and see if I can find anything that matches any of those options. So I scoured through my cosplay stuff and I grabbed a whole bunch of things to think about. Thinking about the head first, because that seems the easiest since it's just a hole. I was thinking I had this old broken pressure gauge from my pressure pot that I used for making dice and stuff like that, which I also did as a hobby. Look, I'm a hobby jumper, still am, but it leaves me with a whole bunch of random stuff. So I'm thinking if I can paint this to make it look like some sort of black hole, it could be like a hole and it's head shaped. Bam. Maybe right there. I'm gonna skip alien body for right now and I'm gonna think about beefy arms. I have a whole bunch of these, what are they called? Pipe cleaners? Pipe cleaners. And I've got a whole bunch of aluminum foil. I'm thinking I shape it with pipe cleaners, like muscles, and then mold it with aluminum foil. We're thinking about it. We're gonna give that a little think, because I might need to then put some sort of clay or putty on top. It'll poke an eye out. I've got hooks from IKEA furniture that I never built. And nails. Because, you know, you definitely poke an eye out with some nails. The hardest two parts for me are going to be centaur legs and alien body. Because those are very, unless you're doing full like cyborg alien, which isn't quite what I think about when you write down alien. I'm sure on that list there was like robot or something like that. You're thinking something very organic looking, very, you know, otherworldly alien. And that usually requires a bit more detail because things that are very organic have a lot of ridges and lines and waves and things like that. And a lot of this stuff here is very solid in structure. I don't want to mold everything. If I was already going to do beefy arms and using the pipe cleaner aluminum foil method, then I would want to actually make the legs out of something else. I'm gonna have to keep looking. I'll be back. Hear me out. Okay, hear me out. All these boxes here that I have on the floor under the side are incredibly old Tyranids from my father-in-law. He shipped them all to us a couple years ago because he knew that I was getting into painting minis and was incredibly generous to give us a lot of his older stuff because he, you know, didn't have as many places to put them. A lot of these things don't have full bodies or full pieces. Like, look at this. A lot of these things are just pieces that are missing or pieces that were not fully assembled. And honestly, I feel like there's a world where I can maybe mesh it all together to make a like ball of alien stuff, goop. Maybe that's how I make it feel organic and alien-like, is to sort of hodgepodge together some sort of crazy amalgamation of different aliens all together. I don't know if it'll make sense with centaur legs, but it would definitely make it scary if you think about it, like assimilating alien parts. Maybe. I have to start thinking about legs. After digging through my house all day, I found what I can use for the centaur leg. An old unicorn toy. No one in my house uses this anymore, and it's kind of perfect. I'm just gonna chop its legs off, so sorry, bud, but the legs are going. Now that I've found this horse, I'm gonna start cutting off the legs using my Dremel tool. It was actually very easy to take these off with this tool. I was very surprised. It just sort of came right off and I didn't lose any fingers, so I'm very happy about that. I'm trying to glue the legs underneath, however, it's really hard to find a way for it to stand on its own with this amount of space that I have on the square. I'm realizing now that a centaur has like an elongated body, and doing it this way, sort of very upright, looks really strange. I feel like some sort of crazy toy maker like Sid from Toy Story or something like that, but we're making it work. And now that I have those leg pieces on, it's time to start gluing all of the alien parts. So right now I'm rummaging through all of the different super old school Tyranid alien bits that I have. These are just a bunch of random parts that I probably will never use. So I've decided to glue them onto this crazy bot monster. I'm just going to sporadically put it everywhere so that things are sticking out, things are looking matched together, and it's gonna look really gross and really cool. Now I've got these huge arms I have to make, so I'm just proportionally going to make them much longer, with the ends having to be, you can poke an eye out with those things. Adding this first arm with the aluminum foil wrapped around these dowels, it just doesn't look very put together, but I'm honestly not really sure how else I could do it. This is when I start thinking that this is definitely going to be some sort of hodgepodge put together, it's finding scraps all over the floor type of bot, because I think that's the only way to make this piece make sense. That's sort of the vision I'm having right now. However, I want to try something else with the other arm because I'm just not satisfied with how this looks. Plus, I only have one of these circular elbow bits, so I'm gonna have to think of something else. That's when I think, what if I put not clay, but something on top of this aluminum foil base to make it look a little bit different. So I pull out my terrain mud clay stuff that I have, which I feel like you guys are gonna freak out because this stuff isn't super cheap. You know, it's okay. And I'm gonna be using a lot of it to cover this arm and put this hook on it. As I'm doing it, I'm realizing with the color of the mud, it's looking really gross and unsatisfying at all, but we're trying to trust the process here. So let's keep trying to trust it. Now that it's fully primed, I'm thinking I'm just gonna lean into the organic part and put these little mini trees that I have around it as if it's been grabbing even the trees and things like that and putting it on its body to sort of protect it as some sort of armor. And I realized that the only way I'm gonna make this thing stand up is if I put it on a base. So I have all this extra cork from the other chaos units that I had laying around where there are these bases on it, and I sort of made this shelf to glue the legs on with this piece of wood that I glued it on top of. And now it's finally time to start painting it, which is really exciting because this should hopefully bring it together. I think now that it has the black coating, it's really starting to become an idea and make sense, and something is really forming in my head, which is great because I was very worried that this was not looking good at all, but it's becoming something. I still feel like it looks like some crazy toy, but we're still trusting the process. We're going to start with airbrushing the arms to have a metallic look to them. I'm using the speed paint metallic color to sort of just generally base coat that area. Everything else on the robot isn't really going to be a super metallic color, so I'm just gonna do the arms for now. Then after some consideration, I decided an alien purple is a nice way to contrast with the green, and you know, alien purple, you can't really go wrong with alien purple. I started with the Pro Curl purple with a little bit of black mixed in, but it just wasn't that right purple hue that I wanted. That was a bit richer, that I think needed a little bit more reds in it. So I decided to go back in with my speed paint Moody Mauve, dry brushed on, and then it really came out this rich, deep purple color. From there, I've started dry brushing lighter purples on top, and then added a little bit more of a pinkish hue to the super glued parts in between that are supposed to look fleshy, and it just gives it a little bit more dimension. Now, if you follow my Instagram, if you don't, you should. I post on there occasionally, and I did a quick poll on what color the legs should be. It was a very close margin, but white won, so white legs it is. I'm really worried that's not gonna look good at all with this, but the people have spoken. Now for the face, I was originally thinking some sort of giant circular chainsaw, but that would take way too much time, and I wanna be on time for this. So another really cool idea was some sort of molten core head hole where it sort of just melts in all of the organic material and then morphs it into its body or something like that. I don't know how that would make sense with the already aliens on its body, but we're working with it. So I did some sort of glowy hue from red, orange, yellow, and then realizing I was airbrushing too close to the middle and making, you know, that effect. I don't know what to call it, where it sort of like warps out in the middle. We're going with the flow with it by adding these sort of lines. Now I feel like the alien body needs just a little something more, so I ended up rushing back into my room, adding the Uhu glue to put a little bit more guts on it, and then waiting for it to dry until the next day. So the next day I come in and I paint the Uhu glue stuff red to make it look a little bit more bloody and gutty, because I just feel like it needs to look like a horrifying ball of flesh. And now this is when I start thinking that the horse legs look too out of body and don't really connect well with the rest of the piece. So I decided to have either alien guts or alien corruption sort of going down the leg to make it look like it's all cohesive. I think it looks a little bit more interesting. I don't know if I'm fully in love with it, but I definitely think it was better than just plain old white fancy legs. And then to quickly do the shoulder vents, because we need to get that done quick. So super fast metallic paint with a tone on top to make it just look grimy and falling apart. The Big Bot Bash robot is complete. I say robot, but I mean more hybrid mechanical organic being. It's something that is more bot in spirit than in actuality, but I was told that you can interpret it however you'd like. So this is how I interpreted it. We have the Chimera robot. I've been thinking about a fun little story or lore behind him because I feel like it'll really tie in the theme and ideas that I've been trying to interpret for this robot. So I'm thinking, imagine a futuristic technology crash lands into an alien planet, very similar to maybe where the Tyranids are from, because I used a lot of Tyranids. It starts to assimilate the organic material that surrounds it in order to get bigger and larger, because its operating directive is that it must evolve and get bigger and get stronger for sci-fi reasons. And so it wanders the land collecting more and more material until it is as you see it. It has found a giant horse centaur's legs to move. It did that. It has found the natural alien species that wanders this world and absorbed it into its body and torso as armor. It has used the metallic bits and made this molten metallic mess of arms to scoop them up into its head, which is a molten hole where it absorbs the material and adds it into its core and its body. Something like that. And they say that to this day, it's still getting larger and wandering that planet to hopefully one day move on to a different one. I don't know. It's a fun idea. I like thinking of it that way. Let me know what you think and maybe some fun names for this robot, because I can't think of anything right now. And I feel like this has to be the weird, crazy set piece of Mel's loft, Mel's mini loft, even though it's not that mini, because it was just a fun, crazy, wacky thing that I got to do. So that's it for the big bot bash of 2025. Thank you so much, Bill Makes Stuff, for inviting me to do this really cool and fun collaborating event. It was really fun getting to see how everyone was putting theirs together and being part of this awesome creator community. So thank you so much for inviting me. And please, guys, if you haven't seen it yet, go check out all of the other amazing content creators, bots. They are absolutely incredible, and I feel like the new kid on the block watching all of these absolutely amazing creators make these really, really cool things. So you've got to check them out if you have not yet. They're really, really good. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the journey I went on, and I will see you guys next time.